Welcome to this video, which is part of the 2021 Lund Contemporary Festival. And I also say welcome to Bertrand Chavarria-Aldrete.
Right.
You're a guitarist and composer, plastic artist,
Yeah.
and doctoral student at the Malmö Academy of Music.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will talk about your research project, which is based on what you call plastic extensions of music. And we will also look at a video from a couple of years ago where you performed Brian Ferneyhough's composition Kurze Schatten 2.
Yeah.
And talk about the role that this piece of music plays in your current research and artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And well, my first question is this, because in the description of your doctoral project at the Lund University research portal, you ask this question: what is this artistic significance of being a music interpreter nowadays? None. So, what do you mean with this rather, shall we say, provocative statement?
Well, indeed, as I have been an interpreter since all my life, a music interpreter, and I found out that musical interpretation has been stuck in what we could call a mannerism of formality. So this musical interpretation of, the job of a musical interpreter nowadays, it's just following the musical score as a code of rules. So what's happening is that the interpreter is erasing itself from the musical discourse just to be a transductor of the ideas of the musical score and not taking the musical score as a source of art. So what I'm proposing as a plastic extension is that the score, it is also a transductor of the ideas of the composer, but at the same time, a source of art in which we can dig in and take out different aspects of the score, and then make what I don't call, but already called Oscar Wilde, a creative criticism of the musical scores.
Okay, so these plastic extensions are your solution to this problem of music interpretation being, maybe we can say stuck or yeah.
Well, the idea is, as you can see nowadays, most of the interpreters are trying to find new ideas to be like actual, no? To be in a contemporary spirit. So they are using many different aspects, but they are not evolving as artists. It's just like crying out loud that they are alive, that they are making something. And I found out that probably the most natural way for me, I talk about myself, was to create this plastic extension, this aspects that can be taken outside from the score and put them into space. So create like a alternative interpretation of music.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to ask, so what is a plastic extension of music?
Yeah, well, my process of plastic extension comes from the intervention of the interpretation. So when I'm working on a musical score, I am indeed working the music inside on the score, but at the same time I'm trying to find, and my body and my mind and my knowledge and my origins have an opposition, create a dialogue with these scores, and these ideas I try to pick them up, and also technical hacks, muscle memory, and different ideas that come from the musical score, I try to put them into space. So what I'm extracting, I'm taking the musical score not just as a way to play the music, but also to create to take it as a source of inspiration to create also.
To create the plastic extension
Yeah.
of a certain piece.
Yeah.
Then yeah. So and I know you use many different media and many different materials in order to create these different different plastic extensions of music. Like I mean, it can be paintings or sculptures or like dancers or performers in different ways.
Yeah, I mean the idea is that each music or each score produces a different kind of output. So I cannot. It would not be honest if I would always do the same outputs, or I would make like an industrialization of my plastic extension, because each piece and each sound create different plastic extensions. So that's why I'm not specializing in one area of plastic or visual art, because each score, each music produces or enhances in myself different aspects of extension. So that's I think that's the most honest way that I can do of music as an interpreter, no?
So in your definition of plastic extension of music, what that is, you need to be an interpreter of music, like I mean a musician, in order to create this kind of plastic extension.
Yeah, for me, I think that my idea is that the same hands of the interpreter that are playing the music are the same hands that are intervening also in the creation of the work.
Yeah.
Of course, there are different outputs that I'm going to create. One of them is with dancers, but nevertheless, in that plastic extension, you will see the hands, my own hands of the interpreter, being placed into space through the body of the dancers. But yeah, always, I mean, that's why it's interesting that if another interpreter wants to make plastic extension, he would take his own origins, his own procedures, and his own impressions of the scores, of the musical sources, to create different outputs.
Yeah.
So in order to create a different iconography of music. So that's the idea, you know, to create a different alternative, a parallel world of interpretation into visual art or plastic art.
Yeah. So naturally, all the compositions that you have made plastic extensions for are guitar pieces.
Yeah.
Since you're a guitarist.
Yeah.
And would it be possible? I'm just curious. Would it be possible for you to do a plastic extension of like an ensemble piece where you participate as just one of the parts, or would that be? I mean,
I haven't really analyzed that situation, because in the plastic extension, I'm always involved in the process. So when I'm not in control of a different instrument or a different source that I'm not really 100% in contact with, it would be very difficult for me to make this intervention of the plastic extension, right?
You would probably have to focus on your own part of the.
Yeah.
I was just because when I was preparing this interview, this idea just came up that maybe, I mean, one could have say a duo where both interpreters are interested in making plastic extensions, and then each one could make their own plastic extension, and then but then I thought that it would be very complicated anyway, because you have to take into account also what I mean your interaction with the other players.
I mean, now very recently I'm working in a collaborative project with violinist Rachel Kovliakov. She's based in Paris. And we are doing kind of this collaborative work, a plastic collaborative work, where we put a piece by Wolfgang Grimm, a long piece that has like 13 pages. So we put all the stands online, and I prepare a canvas with different colors and different objects on the floor. And then, barefoot, she starts to play the music. So creates different gestures with the feet just by the movement of walking through the music stands and playing the piece. So it's a kind of, that's what probably
it's
that's the most honest thing that I can propose as not being an interpreter.
So maybe the answer to my questions is that I mean it's not nothing that you have worked a lot with, but maybe something that
I think that was a interesting way to collaborate and but it's a collaboration. I mean, we're both doing this. I mean, I just prepare the ground. I just prepared this ground, and then she starts to walk in and play the piece, and that's what creates the different gestures with the feet, on the movement of the separation of the music stands and the interpretation of the piece also. So these movements are impregnated also. I'm just preparing the canvas on the ground. That's
before we look at a few examples of your plastic extensions, I just think we could talk a little bit about your choice of word. I mean, in the sense, or because you chose the word extension in a way, not which I mean, it implies that it is a continuation in a way, or an enlargement of the original work, rather than just shall we say translation of it.
I mean, the idea of extension is basically that. I mean, the translation of a work or synesthesia or this kind of already done research was not in my perspective, because the possibility that I have as an interpreter, that I'm playing the instruments, that I can really extend myself into these plastic outputs. Because if I'm really working on the piece, it's very easy for me to make this plastic extension, and also because of my fine arts formation, of course. But nevertheless, I'm capable of doing this extension because I am also an interpreter. It would be impossible if I was not a musician. I could only maybe probably create this translation. But since I am the interpreter,
like for example, someone who say a painter who listens to a piece of music and gets inspired, and it makes
it's a completely different thing. Output.
But for the recipient, for the person who is who will view or experience your plastic extension, would you say that it's necessary that this person has heard the music before, or can the plastic extension be considered as a standalone work as well?
I mean, I think it would create a smirk on the person that already knows the piece musically, but it doesn't need to be. You don't need this reference, this musical reference, in order to understand or to perceive or to really enjoy the piece. Of course, if you know the piece, it can create a little smirk, you know, but because you have this direct contact.
Some other, I mean, aspects
that
you
understand. An added up reference for the piece, you know. But normally, I mean, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I don't believe in this, in putting the music besides the score, beside the plastic extension. For me, it's completely no. That's why it's an extension. If not, it would be just like an ornament, right?
Okay, so let's have a look at a few of your plastic extensions. And the first one, it's from 2017.
Yeah.
Coyote.
Yeah.
Plastic extensions of Pièce pour guitare seule
Yeah.
by the French composer Elisabeth Angot.
Yeah.
We have a picture here.
Yeah.
It's with 66
Yeah.
drawings, graphite drawings, and also with a video, looped video projection. So we can't see the video projection here on the picture, but what can you tell? Maybe first a few words about the musical piece behind it.
Yeah. This piece by Elisabeth Angot, I worked it in this year. I was working with this piece, and I was very curious because the whole piece, it's only 66 positions on the left hand. So I said it could be interesting to make a piece with this, in order to have this 66 diagram of the piece of the left hand and extended into something. So one of the first things that I did was trying to find this whole line, because it's one note that it goes from the end from the beginning until the end, and it passes through different transformations with chords and different techniques of left hand. Right hand techniques, that it could be tremolo, it could be rasgado, etc. And but the left hand has only this 66 position. So in the video, for example, there's only one line. It's train lines that are really crossing with that, and you have one note from Mi to Fa diez to Fa F sharp, and this note is just like a sound that it's coming on loop. And it's like a resume of the piece. And what I did with the graphite and the paper was to impregnate these positions of the left hand into the paper. So you can find 4 different kind of intensity graphites, which are 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the left hand fingers. So for the first finger, it's less intensity, more, until the 4th, which is the most. So if you are a guitarist, and if you play the piece, and if you have the same left hand digitations, you can have a smirk while you're seeing that.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary.
So it's like each of these 66 paper sheets are
you can
represent one
you can read the score if you want.
Position of the hand.
Exactly. You can read the score if you go on the order.
It becomes almost like a graphical score of the piece, but the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a map of this position.
And we can see here all the So is it chronological also? So we could actually follow the piece here.
Yeah, you can follow the whole piece there.
Yeah. I tried to do that. I think I managed. A few of the paper sheets, but then I admit that I got lost because I'm not a guitarist myself. But that's interesting. And the video loop, as you said, it's something that will be.
It's also a standalone piece. I mean, it doesn't need to be accompanied with this. In fact, these pictures are from a exhibition in Porto, in Portugal, and I didn't show the video for that because we didn't have the material to show it. So it was only the 66 drawings there. But the video also stands alone, and it makes sense.
And the video is also, as you said that it's like a resume.
It's a resume of the E note until the F sharp note. That's the process of the piece. So I mean, it's
And what about the because this is the sound in the video, right?
Yeah.
And what about the visual part of the video?
Yeah, the visual part are train rails that are moving. They're just like this movement. You know, when you have there's this sensation when you're in the train, when you see the rails, you know that it's like a dead object, but in motion it takes like life. You know, it starts to become very alive. So this sensation of this stock elements being seen on the video makes this real like kind of morphological, no? Of the strings, you know, the strings of the guitar also when they are in motion, in a very slow motion, you can have this movement also, you know. And the idea was to captivate also this kind of string, this the beginning of the piece, that it's a E string, the first string of the guitar. And you have this, and so you have this movement also from the rain trails.
The trails symbolize the movement of the
And sometimes you have also this between the rails. You have also the wood things that are in the middle. It's like the frets of the guitar also, you know. So it's
so talking about videos, we will go to another piece of you. It's from last year. Or another plastic extension, Bullseye. Which is, as I said, it's a video. So it's also an audiovisual composition. And it's a plastic extension of an etude by Brazilian composer Heitor Villa-Lobos. So shall we maybe start by watching the video, and then we can talk about it? You have done both the video and the music here. And so what can you tell me about the music?
The music is my home recording of this study of Villa-Lobos. I was working during the lockdown in Paris. I took again the 12 studies of Villa-Lobos just to work, to rework your technique, no? Your usual technique. And so I did this, and also in the summer, each summer from my window, you have this Jardin des Tuileries, and they have these games, all these kind of games that are there, and always each summer I have this crazy, just in front of my house, I have the craziest of the games there, because it's always the higher one. So this year was this round, like a merry-go-round, but on the air, right? And I remember this study of Villa-Lobos that I never worked before, and I worked during the lockdown. And it's always like this ostinato that it's always working. And I said, okay, why not extend it into this movement also? That's so the musical source is of course the study, and then of course what I did was just backwarded. So it's very.
I actually noticed that when listening, because you have these characteristic sound of guitar plucking going backwards, like the so the the observant listener could
can get that.
get that from the.
Of course, I mean there's a musical discourse that is adapted to the visual part, and the whole piece is not there. I mean, I just thought about the joke. There was they told me when I came to Paris, they told me that there's this student at the end of the year, of the Paris Conservatory. He needs to make like an orchestral piece, So he's like, he doesn't find the inspiration. So he said, I'm going to take last year's composer that last year did the prize, I mean the composition prize, and I will write it backwards. So the guy starts and then comes to the first rehearsal and says, okay, I'm going to hear. It's like pa 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 pa. So it's a bit like this, So if you take this, if you take it backwards, what I did, you will hear the story of Villalobos.
And I'm curious about the title. Bullseye.
Yeah. Well, Bullseye, it's because I first did a video with the telephone, and I showed it to some friends. I posted it in Instagram. Yeah, and a very dear friend that's called Diana Cunha, I used to live with her when I was living in Porto, and Diana, it's also in Spanish. It's the bullseye also. So that's why I call it bullseye.
And just now, since we're talking about titles, I forgot to ask about Coyote.
Coyote. Yeah, I mean, in plastic art, when you say Coyote, everybody makes the reference of Joseph Beuys, right? And I was not thinking about him at all. The coyote, I mean, the word it's a Nahuatl, a Mexican word. It means coyotl. That's the original word. Is coyotl, and it means. I hope I don't get this wrong because there are some specialists. It means like dog from the mountains, coyotl. And what I was trying to create with this when I started to work on from the E to the F sharp and did working for the video, I heard it like a owl, right? Like an owl sound of the coyotes, when at night you can hear this sound. So it was kind of this, and then I said, okay, the resume of that makes this like a howl of the coyote.
The coyote.
That's why. But I didn't talk about. But then after, if you know the Joseph Beuys piece, that it's a coyote destroying some papers, some journals, you can maybe find a reference between, because I'm kind of destroying also the papers, these drawing papers. In a way, I'm with the left hand, right? So I mean.
Okay. So there is this. Reference.
An unwanted reference with Beuys.
So I think we should move on to the plastic extension you are currently working on. And that is it's a plastic extension of the Kurze Schatten 2 by Brian Thurneyhough. And we will start by having a look at the video excerpt of you playing performing this piece in, I think it was 2012.
Probably,
Okay, thank you. So, and this is of course one of the most technically and maybe musically complex pieces that I mean that is written for classical guitar. It's quite impressive to see you perform it without, and I mean perform it how do you say, from memory?
Yeah.
Without any sheet music.
Yeah.
So yeah, really impressive. But the plastic extension, I know the only thing I know about it is from our earlier conversations before this festival, where and back it was a couple of months ago, and I remember that back then you were thinking about using including dancers and also different levels of light on the stage. So is this still part of your idea for this plastic extension?
Yes, indeed. Well, there's a lot of research on this project. First, well, I mean, the idea was the basic idea is to really traduce or put into the bodies the hand gestures of the piece. So what we are doing right now here in Lund, it's at the MoCap Human Lab here, is we are recording the movements of both hands in order to then create avatars, animation avatars, to make this kind of dance score. So what the idea now is to create to record these 7 movements of the piece, and then put it into the 6 different bodies of the dancers. So what we are working on is to create this extension of my hands, as I told you, into the scenery, without the music, of course, but just on the human bodies. Of course, the human bodies will not be as natural as you can perceive them normally, but it will be completely a hybridization of the hands between the dancers also at the same time. Of course, there will be musical elements from the piece, but not as you will hear the piece. You will not hear the piece, but you can probably see the piece.
So what would that musical element, for example, be?
Could be some notes, could be some harmonics, could be some rhythmical formulas.
Which is part of the movement of the dancers, or
the idea, for example, I mean, it's some ideas that come and go. It's still not. I'm really on the process. For example, on the first movement that I will show you, in this movement, you have a lot of harmonics that are on space, and during these harmonics lines, you have to play inside. So it's like walking on thin ice, right? So you are playing, and you're playing these different harmonics, and you have to leave them on sounding, and you have to play in between the strings without touching the other strings that are already sounding these harmonics. So these kind of situations inspire me in order to find and to understand that probably this walking on thin ice could be also represented also in the dancers. I mean, so these kind of movements, it would be, for me, it would be a pity that we're not using this score or these situations on this music too extended into different sources, right? And for me, it was a real source. For example, on the second movement, also, what I want to do is really translate the left hand into the four legs, into the two dancers with the four legs, introduce all these movements into the four legs of the dancers. These are ideas that come and go, but I think I have to work and see how these avatars are going to come out with the motion cap lab. And also about the lightning that you asked me. The lightning is just a pure reference of the Walter Benjamin's essay, Kurse Schatten, not Zwei, but Kurse Schatten. So this Kurse Schatten, the last it's a series of 12 or 13, I don't remember, or 11, it's around that, little essays of about that it's called Kurse Schatten. And the last one talks about the zenith, talks about the light that comes at the zenith, and then there is no shadow. The shadows are very brief, so it's Kurse Schatten. The Schatten are very kurz. So that was the reference, and that's how I wanted to work also the choreography. So this movement of the 7 movements, working on the light exchange, and also this perspective of the observer, of the beholder, that will be having this light that is moving also at the same time that the pieces are being extended into the stage.
And I also, from our early discussions, you mentioned rhythmical text that would maybe be recited by the dancers.
Yeah, I mean, lately I'm working a lot of I'm working in poetry, my own poetry with my own words, own language, a made-up language that I did, and this came because I was working with a special needs center in Portugal, and the users of this center of special needs, this they have their own language, you know, they create their own language and they communicate with their own language. So for me it was very simple to say, okay, I want to do the same thing, you know. I really wanted to, I was learning from them that they have their own language, and it's possible. So it's they don't have the contraction or the limits of language, of our common language. They just go with the free will and express with sounds what they want to say. So I said, okay, maybe I should also try to do that in order to feel freely, you know. So this poetry that I'm writing lately made me to build my own words, and these kind of words are also what can I use for technical hacks in order to unveil the secrets of the rhythmical phrases inside the complexity of Brian Ferneyhough. So these phrases that are going to be, it would be like on syllables of the same quantity of syllables that I want to do also, that I'm also doing in the Ferneyhough piece.
Okay, yeah, so the text or the rhythm of the text will be the same as the rhythm from the composition, original composition.
Yeah. But it would be like a dialogue. I mean, you and me, we are talking right now, and probably if we translate it into rhythm, we'll have a very complex rhythm.
Yeah, of course.
Also.
Yeah.
So and also if we intervene one each other, we are doing also counterpoint, and you know, so these kind of things, if you take it outside of the context of the normal context that we are doing now, it can create a.
It will actually create a quite natural impression.
Yeah. And once you work the pieces.
And actually, that's the same thing as, I mean, it's the same with when listening to Ferneyhough's music. If you're not, if you're not concentrating and trying to follow every rhythm, which is almost impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, you will just perceive a very like floating or non-metrical.
Yeah, I mean, Ferneyhough Ferneyhough writes in a very precise manner, right? But he doesn't want this precision on the interpretation. I mean, for him, it is also a source of inspiration for the interpreter to create his own version. He had a little discussion with a good friend of mine, Alain Billard. He's a bass clarinet player. And he put into finale and everything. He worked the piece, this time and motion study. He worked it like precisely perfectly, and like nothing. I mean, it was perfectly as Frenejo wrote it. So he said, "Oh, okay, Brian, I would like to show you my version." So then, Frenejo comes and I don't like it
because it was too mechanical.
Yeah, for him it was not the idea. I mean, for him it's just like a source of music that you have to work with, and that's why what I found very
so the
inspirational.
dancers will not have to study
No.
quintuplets inside quartuplets and
No.
triplets.
The idea is to really that the human body will be incapable. This incapacity of the human body to reproduce the hand movement will create hacks, body hacks from the dancers, and these body hacks is what I'm really searching. These things that you cannot write, these imprecisions of the human spirit and the human body, and in order to recreate something, that's what I'm looking for. That's the main subject of plastic extension.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this piece.
Me too.
When do you think it will be finished?
I hope by the end of this scholar year. I hope by June I will have some of the biggest part of the piece. I hope, and I don't know when can we start working with a company. So I make also a call if there are some Swedish dance companies that want to work with me in the future for next year to make this plastic extension. Yeah, so that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, as I said, really, it will be fascinating to see it in reality and not just talk about it.
I hope so too.
I think we will finish our talk here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. And this interview was part of the 2021 Lund Contemporary Festival. And we are currently at Skissernas Museum, and the festival is arranged by Odeum Music Center at Lund University. Thank you.